everyone. I'm Rachelle Burk, and in celebration of Passover, I'm going to read my fun holiday book, The Best 4 Questions. So get comfortable. After all, on Pesach, we all recline. First, I'll tell you what I have here on my Seder table. Here is the Haggadah, which tells the story of Passover. Here's the wine, the Matzah, and, of course, the Seder plate. This plate was made by my daughter Alana when she was a little girl. Now she's all grown up. Say hello, Alana. At the end of the reading, I have a little game, so keep watching. Let's start. The Best 4 Questions by Rachelle Burk. Illustrated by Melanie Florian. Passover is almost here, said Marcy excitedly. Yes, Daddy said. So let's clean up these breadcrumbs, and tomorrow night, Marcy, it will be your turn to ask the 4 questions at the Seder. Hey, that's my job, said Jake. The youngest person at the Seder gets to ask the 4 questions, Jake, said Daddy. Now that Marcy's learned to read, it's her turn to ask them. She'll just mess it up, grumbled Jake. Marcy remembered her brother asking the 4 questions at the Seder last year. The grown-ups all said they were proud of him. Marcy was sure she could do a great job with the 4 questions. After all, she knew a lot about questions. She asked them all the time. Why does that man have hair in his ears? Can I have a pet elephant? Are we there yet? Asking 4 questions on Passover would be easy, thought Marcy, and hers would be the best ones ever. I'll help you practice, said Mommy. But Marcy didn't want help. Can't I practice by myself, she asked. That's 1 question already. Marcy grinned and skipped off to her room. Mommy, she called a little later, should I wear my ruffle dress or the one with the polka dots? Will Aunt Jessica be there? Can I bring my hamster? Do I need a sweater? Enough questions, said Mommy. It's time to get ready for the Seder. But Marcy was getting ready. Can't you see I'm practicing my questions, she asked. At Grandma and Poppy's house, Marcy practiced more. Is that the Seder plate? What's on it? Can I carry it to the table? Grandma handed her the beautiful Seder plate and pointed to one of the little dishes. This is horseradish. We call it maror. And this is haroset, made with apples and nuts. And here is a bone, an egg, and a sprig of parsley. Poppy sat at the head of the table with a big cushy pillow on his chair. Daddy opened the Haggadah to begin the Seder. Marcy wiggled in her seat, waiting for her big moment. Finally, it was time for the 4 questions. Poppy smiled. Are you ready, Marcy? How many matzo balls are in Grandma's chicken soup? Why does Uncle Benji always fall asleep during the Seder? Are worms kosher for Passover? Is horseradish made from horses? Marcy beamed and looked around the table. Mommy's mouth dropped open. Grandpa scratched his head. Poppy chuckled. What kind of questions are those? Asked Jake. You're supposed to ask the ones in the Haggadah. Marcy turned as red as the Seder wine and sank into her chair. You know, said Poppy thoughtfully, I've always wondered how many matzo balls there are in Grandma's chicken soup. And if I know Jake's eating habits, added Daddy, we should probably find out if worms are kosher for Passover. Everyone took turns answering Marcy's excellent questions. There are 24 matzo balls in a pot of my chicken soup, said Grandma. Horseradish is a spicy vegetable, not part of a horse, said Aunt Jessica. Worms aren't kosher anytime, said Mommy. Plus, they're just plain gross. And I do not fall asleep at the Seder, huffed Uncle Benji, though sometimes I do rest my eyes a bit. Then Poppy said, maybe Marcy would like to read the 4 questions from the Haggadah now. Marcy looked down at the book. There were some awfully big words. Can Jake read them with me? Asked Marcy. That's another question, Jake said, but he grinned. They turned to the 4 questions page in the Haggadah and read together. Why is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights, we eat bread or matzah. Why do we eat only matzah tonight? On all other nights, we eat all kinds of vegetables. Why do we eat maror tonight? On all other nights, we do not dip our foods. Why do we dip our foods twice tonight? On other nights, we eat our meals sitting any way we like. Why do we lean on pillows tonight? When Marcy looked up from the book, everyone was smiling. Good job, said Poppy. Uncle Benji, would you please give us the answers to the 4 questions? But Uncle Benji was fast asleep. How about the answers to the 4 questions now? The 4 questions are actually 4 parts of a single question. Why is this night different from all other nights? We eat matzah to remind us that when the Jews left slavery in Egypt, they had no time for their bread to rise. They took their dough on the journey and baked it into flat, hard crackers called matzah. We eat maror, bitter herbs, to remember the bitter and cruel way Pharaoh treated the Jewish people when they were slaves in Egypt. We dipped bitter herbs into haroset to remind us how hard the Israelite slaves worked making bricks for Pharaoh. The mixture of apple, nuts, and wine looks like the clay used to make bricks. We also dip parsley into salt water. The parsley reminds us that spring is here. The salt water reminds us of the tears of the Jewish slaves. We lean on a pillow to be comfortable. This reminds us that once we were slaves, but now we are free. And now, as promised, we have a little game. I'm going to show you a picture. There are at least 6 things wrong with this picture. Take a good look. You can pause the video. See if you can find at least 6 things wrong with this picture. If you find them, put it in the comment section. Chag Sameach, everybody.